Greetings, greetings. This is Body-Culinary, and I'm sending you all some warm, positive vibrations. So it is yet another day again where it's going to be greetings, where it's going to be over 100 degrees. So maybe it will go up to maybe about 106 or 107 degrees today. So I'm giving thanks because I'll take the heat over um, cold fingers and toes on my bicycle. So just coming on today, this early day with a quick share. And something I was thinking about this early day. My mind is always extremely lucid and clear in the early morning. So I was reasoning and thinking about what happens when you really start to love yourself. So we hear the terms self-love, self-care. Those terms are thrown around a lot. And as I may have shared before, the first time I heard that term, I was, I think maybe in my early 20s. And the woman that mentioned it to me, I didn't really know what that meant or what that looked like. And I remember playing it back in my head. And of course, if I fast forward years later, seeds are planted and then wisdom, a little different from knowledge. Knowledge is information, but wisdom, when the comprehension and life experience gives you some understanding and some real life experience and a frame of reference, you get some wisdom along with some quite often butt kicking lessons. Hopefully, we can learn to gather information from folks that have gone through stuff. There's not every traumatic experience that we need to experience. It's okay sometimes to learn, quite often to learn from the mistakes or the errors and judgment of others. So I was just thinking, I had shared earlier this week that I had a blemish, which I haven't had in a long time. And so I'm allowing it to clear up on its own. I don't use any kind of products or anything on my skin. And it's interesting, quite often I will get compliments on my skin, but I come on to be transparent because this, it's clearing up now, is what I used to have all over my face, all over my face. So I'm someone that was very, has had several different peaks of fitness, in my lifetime. And I felt very good about having a really healthy, athletic physique. This, really played a big role in my esteem and my lack thereof. And so I was thinking, as I was taking my early shower, and then when I was slathering and massaging myself with cocoa butter and shea butter, because now it's so hot here. My shea butter is melting nice and easy. My shea butter and my olive oil. And as I was looking in the mirror, I was thinking like, wow, I really, I like myself. I was thinking like, wow, you can take this however you want. But you can look at some of my other videos, and I share about my own personal journey of what I call radical self-acceptance. So as I was looking in the mirror and I was looking at my eyebrows, and I was like, wow, I really like my eyebrows. I really like my eyelashes. I really like my skin tone. And I was also thinking like, wow, that's such a big blemish, and it's healing on, I can feel that it's healing on its own. And so when I was young, I used to pick at my skin. Sometimes you have a lot of acne and anxiousness. You can buy all kinds of tools to manipulate it, creams, all this other stuff. And looking back, I spent a lot of money and I really made it worse instead of in the quiet of radical self-acceptance, right? Because a big part of it is quiet, is cultivating and starting to, if it makes sense, but to cultivate within yourself. Well, I've cultivated within myself a craving for quiet, and quiet here, right? And just noticing my thoughts. So I noticing my thoughts, I was like, wow, I'm having positive thoughts around myself and around this. Like literally, many people buy affirmation books and positive thinking tapes. But I can notice my own dialogue, like, wow, it's really healing, on its own. I don't have to do anything. Again, the average person would panic if this was all over their face. And I get it. I know what that's like. So I know I already eat very healthy. I exercise. I know I can pinpoint, being that I have really consistent habits. I can pinpoint if something is off in my body. And actually in cultivating, again, what I will call the quiet of radical self-acceptance. it's been my experience. You can hear a lot of what you need to do. You can research and take in information from a lot of different people, but you can start to hear. And when I say hear, for example, I'm a very avid reader. I love health and I love fitness. And so my collection, my library books of raw foods, health, yoga. I mean, I can't even count how much money I've spent on educating myself. But after a quarter of a century, there's a point, and along the way, there's sometimes when you put the book down and you really go through. For me, I've done my own self experimentation, even with elders and people I really respect and mentors I respect. So in my life experience, I've found, okay, let's say, for example, somebody I really admire in the holistic health field, their Achilles heel or their challenge was asthma. That was not my challenge. My challenge was more so would be my weight, which I could have the tendency also with issues with my thyroid. I only have a piece of my thyroid to gain weight very easily. My body temperature runs very cold. Also, the lifestyle habits of emoting and dealing with stress through eating mindlessly. So acne is also how certain things have manifested in my particular body. So everyone's body will manifest um, discomfort or dis-ease or being out of alignment a little different. So it's for us to take the information, whether that's proteins, carbs, fat, um, what kind of food you'd like to be eating, the quality of foods. And then if you listen, your body is telling you a story. It's communicating all the time. I know for me, too much fats, not enough sleep, this is what can happen. Then also I'm at a phase, anxiety and overeating. And that's many of us. That's many of us. And we're in a time where everyone takes pills, or we're encouraged to take pills to medicate everything away, and it's if you think about it, we have pain receptors called nociceptors in the brain, right? If we just deal objectively, not just with our feelings, this is a machine, a mechanism, and we're not taught a basic understanding of how our body works, and we're definitely not taught how our psyche and how our mind works. Because if we were with folks where there wasn't a conflict of interest, then we could really understand how quite often we're manipulated in by individuals, con artists, predators, companies, into expending our life energy and also putting ourselves in harm's way. So yeah, we may beat up on ourselves, for example, when it comes to eating mindlessly. If we're eating mindlessly, if we were to slow down, it's telling us how we're reacting to stress. So if we could slow down to start to listen in a very practical living meditation, what I'm just saying is a noticing, is to slow down and to notice the dialogue and to question the dialogue, and also to observe if the dialogue that we're having has been going on for years in the back and it just gets added on to. So in the quiet and the noticing, I noticed that, wow, through different activities that I've done, through acts of self-care, I could hear a different tone in my dialogue. So I could hear my thoughts. I could notice my thoughts saying like, wow, I really love my eyebrows. Wow, I love my skin. So again, I've discussed before, I'm not the hair police. I'm not the food police. It is really, and your views change as you mature and as you get more life experience and you accrue some kind of wisdom. And so, um, although I do desire health for the women and girls in my community, it is everybody's choice. It is your choice how you want to wear your hair and what you want to eat. You can learn from somebody else's experience. You may even try something on for size, but your life is your responsibility. And I can't take that on for anyone. Sometimes we want to give it over to Jesus. No offense. Give it over to this person, give it over to the healer. But ultimately, our life is our responsibility. So I can notice through different things that we may underestimate, like, for example, exercise. And when I say exercise, I like to reframe everything. I like to reframe things in a way that is empowering and it's very real. I can't really fake it. I can't just say affirmations and don't believe it. But if I can reframe things, for example, when I do exercise or I'm in the garden, right, I'm having a very specific experience. So it's been over 100 degrees for a minute now, maybe for a couple of weeks. And when I really get into a garden and I complete a project where my hands are dirty or my nails are breaking off, there is such a feeling of satisfaction and accomplishment. It feels so fulfilling. And so it's similar to what I feel and I felt in what I call now vigorous, joyous movement, aka exercise, right? Words. I'm using words that have more meaning for me because being that this computer can be programmed, why not program yourself intentionally, right? So whenever I've exercised, even if it was really hard and was challenging, there's such an immediate feeling of accomplishment. There's such a feeling of integrity. There's such a feeling of I didn't wait for anybody. I spent quality time with myself. There's a sense of integrity. It's a validation that I have given myself. And every time I do that, like a coat of paint, and it's with specific exercises, right? Well, I get the immediate turnaround where it can take a long time to work towards a degree, a long time to lose weight, and just what I found in my practice and working with people in my own personal experience and working with people in health and fitness, a lot of times we're trying to make changes and even force changes on a superficial level. And there's nothing wrong with enacting new habits, but a lot of times we're not addressing the undercurrent. There's an undercurrent subconsciously of how we feel about ourselves due to trauma, all the experiences, and it's like we don't have access. It's like we don't have access to processing all of these old traumas or things that have happened. How to sit with emotional discomfort and pain without numbing with food. Yeah. And so as someone that's gone to ashrams and meditated and been into self-care and self-help books for many years from a young age, it is so refreshing. It is so freeing. It is so free. Here's what I'm going to say. Representation matters. Representation matters. Hey, greetings, beautiful. Oh my gosh, that is such a beautiful artist that I was thinking of some of her music that just came on, Sankofa B, who is in Central America. You have to check out her music. She's a beautiful spirit. I was just thinking about this spirit this morning. But anyway, just this thing with self-acceptance, and it's interesting. I can learn from anyone. Actually, I give thanks for the ability to be open to learn because I'm constantly learning lessons in self-acceptance. I'm constantly learning lessons in not judging people, right? Because we all have our judgments and our prejudgments. And sometimes you can really miss out in our being very dogmatic about hair, right? And being dogmatic about our food choices. We could be really missing out on some wonderful experiences with other human beings or the gifts that they have to offer because we're conditioned. And sometimes due to trauma, we're making snap judgments. Part of that, maybe it's the human psyche, I don't know. But I'm very grateful to have been in different professions. And also because of my curiosity, speaking to people, asking questions. And I'm so humbled when I encounter people that teach me things. And I run it through my computer. Someone could have piercings, different weight. For example, I've taken a dance class with this woman that was, she was big and voluptuous, and she kicked my behind, and it was so much fun. I've constantly had different experiences when it comes to judging people. I've had personal training clients as pale as my wall from Ireland that were just really dedicated moms. I've encountered people who I've put up on a pedestal because we're from the same culture and we have the same look. That weren't their character didn't try to flawed human beings, but their character wasn't what I thought it was because I was romanticizing things. So when it comes to self-love, back to my original point, I did not always know what that meant. I didn't know it, and I'm pretty well read. I didn't know at a certain age, a young age, I didn't know what that meant. I'm very grateful that I had my godmother, who I found her and attached myself to her, I needed to see a woman, a chocolate woman. I needed to see her with her hair intact, her natural, how it grew out of her scalp. I needed to see her living her best life. I needed to see her not bitter, not hating men. I needed to see her fully self-express. I needed to see her being creative and dancing. I needed to see her walking and living in the flesh. And I met her, and she is consistent to this day. So between her and my grandma Lou, it was very simple. No Eckhart Tolle, no yoga, no financial planner, just such a simple, pleasant, and present human being. They have really set a bar for me in terms of behavior, self-care, and the seeds that they have planted. I continue to reap the benefit and get more wisdom. It's like getting new plants. I compare everything now to the garden. It's like you get my big oregano bush that transition, but now I got like maybe 3 or 4 more oregano bushes off of it. So seeds of wisdom that these women have implanted in me, and my godfather. I'm continuing to get more wisdom off of that same seed, right? If somebody gives you a seed, do you bring them back seeds? Well, hopefully you bring them back fruit, and trees and other stuff. Maybe I'm veering off. Hopefully you understand it. But anyway, back to my original point. When I was looking at myself today, I was thinking, wow, I like myself. I find myself attractive. And it's interesting because in the side of my mind is all of this, I don't know if I want to say competition. It's weird. It's hot here. Where, if I look online, there's all the level up, right? The level up. And I appreciate the conversation. I'm really appreciative that Black women and chocolate women in general, but in particular, it's a conversation that's really big in the chocolate women's community. Having these conversations about reframing the narrative around self-worth, around giving themselves and their body temples away freely. And I'm not talking about prostitution or just getting a sugar daddy, but even with those conversations where we're starting to write our own narrative. Sometimes I feel like we've been sold a bad bill of goods between religion and society, all of these rules, and we miss out on a lot. And we could spend our whole life going through this mental maze of other people writing the narrative of what's attractive. You're not attractive if you don't have these sneakers on. I mean, if I look back, how much money have I spent on clothes? I could have had several parcels of land, and I backtrack on where that comes from. You're socialized in school and high school where you don't fit in if you don't have these sneakers. If nobody ever exposed me to that stuff, I don't think I would have ever put any of that, had chemical burns from perms, trying to fit in. How often do we put ourselves as women in harm's way, trying to fit in, right? Because we don't have self-worth, and the nuances and the subtleties and the practical common sense of that. It doesn't kick in. A lot of times it's not modeled for us. So I'm glad that the conversation is being had. So I'm not here to judge people. If you want to put makeup on, put makeup on. If you don't want to put makeup on, don't put makeup on. If you want to slick your edges or whatever. But I just question the fact that it's other folks that are writing the narrative and setting the tone for how much you will spend to be attractive, what it means to be a woman. Is a woman just about putting a dress on? Your self-worth. It's interesting. We don't feel worthy if we don't have this and we don't have that. And so I'm very wary, because if I backtrack a lot of it, if we look at it, if you follow the money trail, there's a conflict of interest. Because if I have to pay you money to feel worthy, I question that. So I say that to say I'm very comfortable, and I'm so grateful, if this makes sense, to feel comfortable in my skin. If I have a corn on my toe, it's my toe. It's my fluffy hair. The anxiety with slicking down the edges. It's kind of different than saying I just want to be creative with my hair. But when there's this spastic, this this anxiety, this thing, if there's an undercurrent of I don't feel good enough, I don't compare, everybody else. And if you think about it, we wind up looking like cookie cutter. Everybody looks the same. Everybody has the same look, the same, not demonizing people's choices, your weaves, your wigs, whatever, because one sense of it is creativity. But I'm also questioning, we're trying to look, everybody looks the same, whether it's the implants, how much money we're spending, and there's a conflict of interest for profit. I say take it off the table. I say take it off the table. I'm not waiting to be chosen. I choose me. And so if that means, dealing with the fear, will I be chosen? Will I be alone? Do you realize how much we're driven to eat, to move, to spend out of fear? Fear of poverty, fear of pain, fear of being alone, fear of loss of love, fear of aging. I take it off the table. I'm taking it off the table. And it's freeing. It is very, very freeing. And so maybe for my own little thing, just intuitively, I just look in the mirror and it's like, I appreciate myself. I've seen that my body has changed. My facial structures has changed. I know a long time ago when I breastfed my son, that has changed. And so, you know what? I say, bring it on. I say, bring it on. And it's like, it just clicks in my head, in the early morning. It's like, I'm rewriting the narrative. And so I really enjoy being able to sit into, it's a feeling, it's a mentality of a curiosity. It even brings a smile to my face. Your thoughts, if you were to look at your face in the mirror during the course of the day, your thoughts are expressed on your face. A curiosity about what my body can do. I have a curiosity about, okay, I could get an injury. I remember when I got my first injury, and I'm in the fitness industry, and the first time I felt my back, it's humbling. A lot of times we don't want to let things like a pimple or injury, you don't want to let it be seen, right? We don't want to let it be seen because I'm not perfect. Again, I'm going to be judged. I'm not worthy. I say, take it off the table. I say, take it off the table. Ladies, accept yourself. A lot of times we want people to love and accept us. We don't accept ourselves. We don't love and accept ourselves. And so to be able to sit, and it's not that we'll be lonely forever. And it's actually kind of, to a certain degree, ridiculous. There's a bazillion human beings on the planet. Are we really lonely, or are we a bunch of people coming together, but we're going through so much crap in our mind? Even when you get with people, you can't even be present to really enjoy them. So I say all that to say there's a lot to be said for loving, which is a verb, and appreciating yourself. And what that has looked like for me is um, not making myself available for abuse, not making myself available for flakiness or people that don't appreciate my time, my care, and my attention. I appreciate that. So sometimes you're like, well, I'm gonna be alone. Now, I go into the garden. After a while, it fades away, and you enjoy your time with yourself. You can enjoy your accomplishment with yourself. And the more you pour that into yourself, you don't have to worry about your weight. I've done all kinds of experiments. I can go into the gym. I can go and work out for hours. But there's something to be said. I notice when I'm in the garden and I'm just playing and I'm having fun, your body is intelligent and knows how to fall to a natural weight. Many of us that are eating mindlessly, when we're engaged in things that where we're expressing ourselves creatively. For example, when I am dancing, the last thing I want is food. I don't want any physical food. I don't want anything getting in my way from dancing and expressing myself. So it's like, curious. So when I'm dancing and I'm in a garden, when I'm fully present in life, when I'm engaged, when I'm massaging my skin, with coconut oil, when I'm massaging, I'm not trying to sound away, but when I get out of shower and I'm massaging my breasts to make sure that they're healthy and I'm soothing myself, I take a lot off the table when it comes to self-care. And these are things we could do in our quiet time with ourselves every single day. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't cost anything. And I think we will attract something different when and this is what also came to me this morning, making ourselves scarce. I think perhaps something to explore. I'm exploring. I'm not telling grown folks what to do. I invite us to make ourselves scarce. And so when people are looking for you, you're not available because you're somewhere doing something, taking care of yourself. You're just not available. So folks don't see you. And then when we value our time, I don't, that's just the way it came to me. We value our time more. Certain things that you want to do, whether that's roller skating, gardening, learning a language. I mean, leverage. I'm all for leverage the internet. There's so much you could be studying and learning on the internet. And someone commented on one of my pages the other day. Every time I see you shopping, I see you gardening, you do it all. You're always doing it by yourself. You don't. I don't see any community. And I thought about that, and I was like, maybe it was a projection and not necessarily negative. First of all, there's the safety of the internet. That's number one. But number two, I'm not waiting for someone to ask me to dance. You will miss out. You will miss out. I've said to many clients over the years, you're waiting for somebody to go work out with you at the gym. You more likely will meet somebody when you get there. If you set yourself up, even with traveling, you can travel, set it up so you're safe. You got emergency phone calls to call back home. You got a round trip ticket. You make sure that you're safe. More than likely, you'll meet people when you get to your destination. I've taken classes for years where I might have been no one ever wanted to go with me, but I never regretted going outside of my neighborhood to discover something different. And if that's something to be cultivated. If we don't do that, we can get very stuck and we can get very rigid. And maybe perhaps we feel anger and bitter and resentful when we see other people from other cultures and races and even our men folk out there living their best life or taking on their life unapologetically, but we haven't taken on ours. And so then we make perfect environment for us to put on additional weight, and not just physiological weight, emotional, mental weight. We can fall into, and I get it. I love caring. I love nurturing other people. But we can really sometimes, quite often, use it as a distraction to not sit and deal with ourselves because we're rewarded. We're giving accolades. We're giving attention. We're giving compliments for taking care of other folks. And then we don't take care of our health. Again, with this whole situation that's been going on recently, the numbers, when they say disproportionately affecting chocolate folks, right? Particularly in the Americas, 70%. A lot of it because our immune system is low, because of not really prioritizing our health. And I get it, not to make us bad or wrong. Quite often we're in survival mode. So our life is our responsibility. Only we can do something to change it. All I want is to be vegan. So greeting, Allie. What if someone doesn't understand soul love or true love? I'm not here to be so esoteric and so flighty. To me, I'm not down in it. If someone doesn't understand, that's your responsibility to understand. If I don't know how to do something, then it's up to me. My attitude is usually, I may not know how to do something, but I bet you I could find out. I bet you I will find out. So if you don't know something, there's a lot of stuff I wasn't exposed to as a child, but as an adult, I sought it out. And so we can make a positive use of the internet. And I think sometimes school, there's a lot we can learn in education, but I think sometimes just a group think in school, we're educated out of our confidence. Self-love is taking care of yourself. And the simplest way I can express it is also not putting yourself in harm's way. And in a practical sense, I'm going to say it like this: not opening your body to all kinds of people just because you want some attention and somebody to be with, but you put yourself with all of this knowledge out here at risk for a disease, male or female. That is not self-love. That is not self-love, seeking attention, and it's just not self-love. So if we're putting ourselves in, just only you can figure out what that is. I'm not anybody's guru or anything. You'll have to, your life is your responsibility. If you put your life in an entertainer's hand that you don't know, you're looking to the entertainer as a rubric for character, that doesn't make sense. A lot of times these folks they're human beings, they're flawed human beings. They don't live the same lifestyle as us. They're larger than life. But if it's not a religious figure or a religious icon, there's an entertainer. Their lifestyle is not yours. Your life is your responsibility. I was raised in a church, and the church, no one has carte blanche on the truth, or principles, but raise, put it into Jesus' hands, put it into God's hands, not my way, your way. And sometimes I think it causes us to not take responsibility, for ourselves. So if you don't know, it's your responsibility to find out. I can't tell you what that looks like, but I can tell you for me, self-care is not putting myself in harm's way, not allowing myself to be abused verbally or physically, not noticing if there's any mean or verbally abusive language to myself. Self-love is also huge for me. I would equate at this point in my life responsibility with spirituality, right? Which I think is very practical. That works for me. So if I'm being responsible, that means I'm being responsible with my sexual health. I'm being responsible with my time, not giving away my time when there's so much for me to do to advance my life and to pleasure myself, to give my time away to people that demonstrate that they don't appreciate it, right? So sometimes self-love is not doing something, right? Not squandering your rasa, your juice, your valuable time, your creativity. Babies, can get it. Folks that are reciprocating, maybe we feel honorable. I gave everything away, and I'm this righteous person. But sometimes we have to question, why are you continually giving your energy, your creativity, and your time to those that are demonstrating with their actions that you're not appreciated, you're not prioritized? If we keep doing it, then that's on us. So if you don't know, I would just say that's your responsibility to find out. And then Allie, if you say, I want to be vegan. Well, I would say this. This is just my experience. Health to me is so much bigger than being vegan. And I've been vegan in terms of my consumption pattern. The consumption pattern is the behavior. That's not who I am. So I refer to the way I eat more so like I'd rather focus on cruelty free, right? Which is a mentality and a behavior more so than a label. Because just because I'm vegan doesn't mean that I'm a nice person. I could be vegan and eating a lot of junk food. I could be, you know what I'm saying? I could just be eating a lot of stuff that doesn't have any water, doesn't have any life force, doesn't have fiber, but it doesn't have the animal flesh in it. So I think sometimes the labels can have us ego trip on the label. It can also divide us up into different camps. And so I was raised on eating animal flesh. Coming out of high school, I was vegetarian then vegan on my own. I went back to eating flesh because I felt like nobody else was doing it. So you'll have to go to your internal call for what it is. If we listen, you'll be drawn and guided as to what to eat. Your body's going to tell you a story. I would say your values, if we allow our values to guide our eating choices, right? It's like I'm saying, I know these folks are not being paid right in this factory, but I want the bag anyway, right? We can look at the government, we can look at everybody else. But do we ever check our own consumption patterns as contributing to a lot of what we see out on the planet, especially as women and as mothers, right? A food cooperative that I've been a member of for many years in Brooklyn, shout out to the Park Slope Food Co-op. I really enjoyed being a member of that co-op because I learned so much. So, for example, one time I went to the co-op and we're like, where's the grapes? And somebody's, and gets on the microphone. You hear announcements in the co-op on the PA system. It says, can anybody tell me where the grapes are? And then somebody else gets on the mic and says, we don't have grapes right now because the grape workers are not being paid fair wages. So there was such a consciousness and awareness of the people that are raising the food. Are they being paid fair wages? It's like many women, if we could see how other people are being treated in other countries, if you could see it with your eyes, I think that would make an impact on us in terms of a lot of our consumption choices, not just the food. So if you really want to be something, you'll be it. It's a mentality, it's a behavior. I think sometimes we get so cerebral, we get so stuck in our mind that we never actualize. So it's not just about what we're eating. Sometimes all these, I call them Jedi mind tricks. I'm vegan, I'm plant-based, with all these labels. Yeah, we wear them with pride. And then I could think of one time I had all of these supplements. I can't even tell you how many hundreds of dollars on all these tinctures. But my grandma Lou, who was my rubric, she was simple. And I always felt like health should be accessible. I used to feel like, why do I have to go in the health food store and spend $30 on something when I can just eat the food? So my grandma Lou, even though she wasn't a vegan or a vegetarian, she is my inspiration because she was the most pleasant and present human being I ever met. And the food wasn't organic to my great grandmothers and my grandmother. They just ate fresh food. They sent food back and forth to each other. It's just a mindset of um, how comfortable they were in their skin and how they treated other people. So to me, that's much bigger than vegan. So at this time on the planet, definitely as someone whose ancestors experienced a lot of brutality and violence, the violence of slaughtering animals, to me, it just doesn't resonate. I've seen a lot of that senseless violence. So the violence and the lack of care and concern for other people in the earth, it's a responsibility, it's a mindset. So that is more so my thought process around my consumption patterns, right? Like I'm a big lover. I love music. But I also recognize at a certain age that, let's say, for example, coming out of high school as a young adult into my early 20s, if I listened to enough, Kiss After Dark and all this soul music, I started to pay attention to the lyrics. I can't live without you. I'm dying without you. And a lot of music was all about cheating, cheating hard and cheating. All music was cheating. And I can't live without you. Current day rap has turned into I'm twisting in your uterus. It sounds very abusive. So I realized that a lot of the music was messing with my emotions, right? And a lot of times we're consuming stuff indirectly, right? And it's programming us. It can also make us less sensitive, right? I remember when I first started to hear curses on the radio, and I was like, wow, did I just hear cursing? So it's like things are slid in, under the guise of entertainers, right? And things desensitize us. If I look at what children are being exposed to, they're still finding their way. And I think they're being over sexualized when they're still discovering who they are, and grown adults are, just my perspective, are projecting a lot of stuff on children. They don't have a chance to relax and be free. And it's such a focus on their genitals. It doesn't make any sense to me, but that's just my perspective. I think they should be allowed to be children to express, because when we're little, I remember holding my other little girls, we were holding hands and we were just playing. It wasn't all of this stuff and all of these different labels. So in any event, self-love and self-care, I think it has behaviors attached to it. It has behaviors attached to it. So I do want to encourage women out there, because we are definitely targeted. And I can say we definitely spend a whole truckloads of money, right, on our looks. And it can be observed that we do not control the means of production. For all the stuff that goes to care for this very unique beauty stamp, we don't control the means of production. When I travel around the world and I see many young women turning themselves out for money just to survive, it's not everyone, but I see it and I've seen it. I think it's interesting that some of that money goes right to the beauty supply shop, and it's not a concern. The manufacturers and the producers are not concerned about the health of those products, and it's not tremendous amounts of money that are being recycled back in for education or protection of those women. So ultimately, I don't have a whole bunch of romanticism, and I'm not expecting, at least at this point, I'm not expecting folks to care for us more than we care for ourselves. I think it's a lesson. I think there's a spiritual lesson. Rather than being so angry, I'll take the clarity more over the anger. And anger is a natural emotion, but we don't want it to take us out, right? So I have a curiosity about what will be more effective. So I'm not expecting, even though it sounds poetic and it sounds like a dream, a pie in the sky. I'm not expecting folks to love me more than I love myself, more than I care for myself. If I put myself in harm's way, that's a very clear statement. Sexually, financially, if I'm irresponsible, even with the resources that I have, if I have so many vices, that I could be easily manipulated because I got vices. If I'm addicted to No offense to folks out there. If I'm addicted to cigarettes and I can't survive without these chemicals to make myself look away, and I can't live without a bundle for my hair. I mean, look how much that is. I'm making myself voluntarily kind of like a slave. I know that sounds horrible. So I take it off the table. I take it off the table, waiting to be chosen for someone to tell me I'm beautiful, I'm pretty. I take it off the table. Wherever you are in your education, where you are financially, your sense of worth, I take it off the table. I value me. And what that looks like is what I'm choosing to eat. So for me, it's not about the label of vegan. For me, it's about cruelty free, and also cruelty free to my own brain, to my breasts, to my organs, cruelty free first to me. Because if that's a standard I've set for me, then it's quite natural that I would want to expand that out to the mother that I'm getting, that I'm taking from. Why would I disrespect my mother when she's feeding me? That doesn't make sense. Why would I disrespect Mother Earth and put dirt on the ground or litter? It's a mentality. It's more than the label. It's a mentality. So I'm here to encourage you and invite you just to explore in your quiet as you move about your day. Whether you're washing dishes or hopefully you're growing something, even in some small recycle containers, even if you got to take the seeds from your hot pepper and your green peppers and put them back in some dirt, dig up some dirt. What do you have to lose? You're not going to lose anything. But I tell you, some people might think, why is this, if I'm a trainer, do I tell everybody to grow food? Because I think it's a shortcut into your learning curve. It's a shortcut into your awareness around an appreciation of life. And then when you watch the fruits and the vegetables start to ripen and you get to pick it and eat it, we're thinking of food, but it's an energy. It's an energy. It's a mentality. It's a consciousness that, and I'm not trying to sound esoteric at all, but it's literal life force and energy. It's a consciousness. It's an awareness that we are consuming. It's a state of being. It's a state of mind. It's so practical. It's so simple. It makes so much sense. So greetings, Nikira and Ali, Goshan. Yeah, just sending us some warm vibration. So it is market day. I don't know if Miss Sankofa's here. Give me a holler if you need something. My other sister. Y'all create a great day on purpose because you said so, right? We're constantly being manipulated with fear, 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 fear. We're all going to lay down this coat called the body at some point. So if we just make peace with it, okay, yes, we all gonna DIE at least as we know it. So how are you going to make use of this time that you have in this life cycle? I personally don't know what's going to happen after I lay down this coat called the body. I do think I'll take all my awareness and my consciousness with me. I don't know what that's going to look like if I don't have a body temple. So the fear of that, I'm taking it off the table. I'm taking it off the table. So self-love and care, whether you're 300 pounds or 400 pounds, if we don't worry about it so much, and if we're being responsible and doing everything that we know to do, not driving ourselves crazy. My grandmother would say, do your best and wash your hands. If you're doing your best, but sometimes we can be bothered or irritated or anxious because we're not activating what it is that we know to do in our quiet moments, right? Not just adding in a whole bunch of supplements and powders and fake patties and trying to make everything a burger and make everything bacon. It's the same mentality. We're trying to make everything bacon. We're trying to burn a carrot to a crisp and soak it in liquid smoke and make it into a bacon. It's a mentality. Most of your body is what? Water. Right? It's an activation. Again, this is why I encourage folks to grow something, right? So subscribe to the channel, make use of the different content that I've parked on here. I've also shared on the Facebook page several what I call my tiny space workouts. So I am the coach, trainer, the mama, the sister to assist you if you're open to removing your excuses from moving. So I love to dance. That is one of my favorite ways to express myself. And again, I ain't think about no vegan. I ain't think about no food. I ain't think about nothing when it's time for me to dance. I just want to hear some drums and I want to express myself. So if it's African dance, if it's capoeira, vigorous, joyous movement is huge, huge. One of my biggest tools for self-care. in addition to eating lots of fresh fruits and vegetables. So I got a lot planted in the garden. Look at it. I'm supposed to get off again, right? I got a lot planted in the garden in these old pallets. So again, I feel so good. Brings a smile on my face. Broken up pallets. My sister, she broke up the dirt yesterday, and I planted lots of black beauty zucchini and I have a list, crooked neck squash. And so now I'm thinking I'm going to put some cucumbers in the ground. I did put tomatoes in the ground, some spinach, some rows of lettuce and mesclun, sweet potatoes, sesame seeds. Reality, not everything, not all the seeds are going to bust or to germinate. So I'm very, very excited about that. We're underestimating how good these things can make you feel in terms of being in integrity with yourself. Maybe I'm just sensitive because I really feel it down to the core. You know, I'm inviting you. Everybody grow something. Grow something. I don't care if it's a hot pepper, green pepper. So yeah, I'd love to know what you're growing. Feel free to share it. My page is online, or Kwasa Peaceful Eating on FB. My business page is Body-Culinary. The different webinars that I have on bodyculinary.com. So there's one, let me tell you, I have several tools that I have over there. I have natural beauty, no products, right? So I am the person that has cleared up my skin. This was all over my skin. It's rare, but with fruits and vegetables, I don't buy any products. So that's what I'm putting on my skin. I'm eating it. That's what I'm putting on my face. So natural beauty, no products, whole living foods in the hood, part 1, with menus to fit into your budget. It's not a recipe book. If somebody, when people ask me why I don't cheat or why I don't eat certain things, if you want a shortcut and insight into how I'm eating the way I'm eating, and why I'm not a junk food junkie when I was a serious junk food junkie before, this whole living foods in the hood part 1. There's also a webinar there, healthy eating for men. For men that are interested in going plant-based. And there's over 2 hours, there's a workshop and a webinar I did on whole plant food preparedness and preservation. So that is on the bodyculinary.com channel. And then there's my tiny space workouts. We're up to 5 workouts. So you can recycle those. You can do those in about 20 minutes with no equipment, right? You have optional if you want to use 2 liter bottles, or each bottle is about 2 pounds, or you can just use your body weight. So those are things that I have shared online. You can find those on Facebook for frizzy. At least for now, I have them online. All right, y'all. Create a great day on purpose, because you said so, right? Don't let these folks out here and all the social media steal your joy. Whether you have a pimple, 300 pounds, with your kinky hair or not. If nobody's choosing you, choose yourself. Choose yourself. All right, y'all. See you soon.